Hi, so this is Durga Chavali. I'm an IT manager and an AI advocate at an internet and US-based healthcare organization. Um, so today I'm going to cover some basic concepts about the AI governance and the need for the AI Geneva framework. So the Geneva AI framework is an unique approach to identify and resolve all the basic governance related issues that we started seeing with the AI implementation. So, with that said, let's get started. And this is my opening slide here that says AI governance and the Geneva AI framework. The main purpose of this is to build the trustworthy and the responsible AI ecosystem. So let's go back and see that AI inflection point where we have started in the past and where are we currently. So we have been evolved so much in the AI system and the ecosystem. Initially, there were rule-based systems like where you order some rules and your system will respond to it. And now we are into agentic and the generative and cognitive and then effective AI systems emerging. So, with that said, cognitive AI systems are the systems that can even respond to your emotional questions and can pretend the emotional behavior back. But there is a warning that's been issued by Jeffrey Hinton, who is being renowned for the AI as a godfather of the AI, that there is 10 to 20% of the existential risk that's been issued. So I'm gonna talk about those details and see what solutions that we have. So the core dilemma here that I'm going to refer to is the innovation versus the humanity. Who needs to take the decisions? Is it AI can take the decisions, or what if AI going to take all those decisions without any human in the decision making process? So we are going to jump into the regulatory methods and mechanisms that are currently in place. So EU has got a very good regulatory and the comprehensive risk-based governance in place. That's called EU AI Act. And the US is more or less innovation first, and the decentralized oversight is going on. So I have done a study on the China, UK, India, and Canada, and have seen like how their AI systems and AI governance acts are in place, and this is my take on it. So the China is very centralized, state-aligned AI governance, and UK is a sector-specific flexible model has been introduced. India and Canada are like emerging rights, basically based on the frameworks, and they're kind of following the big other countries. So, based on my research, I've seen like it's more like a patchwork that systems are doing and the nations are doing rather than national laws. There is a fragmented approach every nation is taking. There is a regulatory arbitrage risk, inconsistent safety thresholds, global technology, and local rules all over the place. So it's very much fragmented. And risk tier regulatory models are being renowned for the EU is a EU AI Act or a governance benchmark. So they have started an AI board enforcement department, and they have issued the regulatory sandboxes for the innovation. So with that said, there are a details about how the AI can work. What if the AI has generated some data? How you're gonna distinguish the AI generated data versus the human generated data? What are the regulations that are needed if AI is scraping your data from the web and acting as a human? What are the regulations are being involved? So they have they have gone through the details of this and then come up with a good AI act. So the United States, looking at that, the principles without the enforcements. So looking at some of the bills, Bill of Rights or 2022, there are some 5 core principles that they have issued. So the executive orders on the federal AI usage, limited binding legislation, and the leadership opportunity in the responsible stewardship. So I have seen myself as an weak in the AI regulations. We don't have a solid, robust rules at this time. We are still kind of struggling a bit to make those rules. If I observe China and India and Canada and the UK, so China has got a strong security and ideological alignment. India is also doing a better job in the digital sovereignty nowadays and development focus. Canada is rights based basically and then concerns driven. So UK is agile, but it's a fragmented regulatory design in place. So there are some multilateral efforts that are being introduced by the UN. I would say they are toothless at this time. There is an AI principles like AECD, OECD principles are there, but they are not very aligned with the other nations worldwide. So UNESCO has AI ethics, global partnership on the AI, which is a GPAI, lack of enforcements and global compliances. So what it tells me that is everyone is struggling so hard to get the AI governance and the regulations. Every nation is working based on their local cultural and advancements and geographical constraints and the boundaries of that nature, but it is not enough. So here is what I propose to the governments or the nations. We need a Geneva Convention of the AI. So, what does that mean? We need to have the AI risk transcendent national borders. Share moral baseline is needed. Prevent race to the bottom regulations. Protect humanity while enabling the innovation. So, imagine an atomic bomb and imagine the scenarios where we had to introduce the war culture and how it have we have transformed ourselves, how every country come together and set up the rules to follow, especially during the wartime and battle time of that nature. So I would see AI needs a Geneva AI in a fact, like every nation has to come forward and define the rules and bind to those rules. So if a nation is taking their own silo independent rulemaking, I would suggestly strongly say that it does not work with the AI era. So here is what I have mapped between the warfare principles to the AI governance. So the distinction in the warfare is equal to the ethical AI targeting, and the proportionality is being the same as what we call as a risk benefit calibration, and the necessity is called the purpose driven AI, and the humanity it's a major fact on how we have defined the rules in the war during with the humanity in mind. It's the same thing, right? The prevent human harm and the accountability, human oversight and the liability. Remember the second slide we have seen the AI decision making versus the humanity, and that's where the accountability comes. If AI has done, if a system is coming up and giving you the wrong suggestions, who is going to be accountable for that? Do you say like it's a system fault and AI is giving me a wrong suggestion and wrong solution? Not, no, right? You have to go back and look at the behind the scenes, who has designed the AI and who has scraped the data and who has provided this biased output. And then we have to make sure those people are being accountable for those issues. So the essential principles that I came up for the Geneva AI framework, the transparency and the explainability. Accountability and the legal responsibility needs to be mandated. Human rights and the dignity protection needs to be mandated. Safety, reliability, and robustness, fairness, and non-discrimination. So these are the core essential principles I say in my Geneva AI framework needs to be having. So let's talk about some of the expanded safeguards. Privacy, data protection by design. So meaningful human oversight. This is where I would like to call upon the AI stewardship. Prohibition in malicious domain activities. ethical controls in the healthcare and finance, especially these are the sensitive departments, continuous adoption and the governance. Once you make a rule, it's not enough. You need to amend the changes to those rules, make sure you observe the patterns and you make those changes to those rules. So the case applications in the healthcare and the finance, bias mitigation. One of the main challenge, especially in the healthcare and the finance, is the bias in the decision making process. So recently, we have seen in published article that 40 million people are now depending on Chat GPT for their basic healthcare needs. What that means. I'm going to type a question to the Chat GPT saying that I'm having some running nose. What should I do? So it's going to suggest you take a medicine or go to the over the counter and get some medicine, right? And that's what happening. And we have seen a study coming out and telling like 40 million people are depending on the Chat GPT for their basic healthcare questions. That's a whole big number. What if the chat gpt or what the solution, the response the chat gpt is giving you is a biased version, right? And it's giving you a wrong solutions. People are going to be going and finding some medicine which is not relevant to it, um, relevant to the problem they're having, and they're going to have the sufferings. And this is what exactly I mean by the bias mitigation. Explainability in credit scoring models, audit trails for compliance, human in the loop intervention model needs to be there, and it has to be in the design. And this is the AI stewardship I want to reemphasize, and that's the missing layer. Based on my observation and experience, I have seen people are chasing on the AI models without really finding out the issues behind the scenes. What if something goes wrong? Who is going to be responsible? Without looking into all these factors, if we are implementing the AI, who is going to be at blame when something is going wrong? And you need to ensure the AI stewards are in place during your designing and the development. Co-creation of the academia, industry, and the government. I also suggest a joint research and the regulatory sandboxes needs to be established where the global standards and the harmonization, shared data sets with safeguards needs to be established. Trust through collaboration needs to be there. And my take on this Geneva AI is to address the fragmentation and go to move towards the cohesion, adopt universal baseline principles, align national regulations with global norms, enforce cross-border accountability, build interoperable AI governance systems. And here is the Hinton's paradox initially that we have seen in the slide one. AI holds immense societal promise. AI carries unprecedented systematic risk. Global coordination is not an optional thing, it's a mandatory thing. Governance determines whether AI serves humanity or the other way around. And the closing vision, responsible innovation is not anti-innovation. I want to reinforce on this one. We are not against the innovation, but my take on it is a responsible innovation with the proper guardrails. Ethical AI builds long-term trust. The future of AI is a collective responsibility, and the time for Geneva AI framework is right now. With that said, I'm going to close it out and thank you for your time today.